Welcome to Good Neighbors, and yes, we have already started. Thank you for tuning in to the program, and on today's program we have, I call him the money guru, because all I'm going to do is like pose a question, he'll give the answer. I'm referring to Mr. Gary Silverman.
Sullivan's a good name.
I know.
It's not mine, but it's a great name.
Gary Silverman. Gary Silverman. He is nationally known for his money advice, his information concerning the financial realm, and we're going to get some of that information today. So, first of all, I want to find out, how have you been doing? I haven't seen you in a while.
Been busy. Been busy. Just working. It's money never stops.
That's right.
Any of our guests out there, they know there's this thing called cash flow, and my clients as well has cash flow. My business has cash flow, so we just got to keep it flowing for everybody.
That's right.
That's right. That's an endless job, and that actually never ends.
And that's a good thing.
For me,
a great thing. Yeah, a great thing. Now, the economy. I know when you say economy and money, people are like, oh my God. What is your take on where we stand right now?
Right now? Well, first, realize that nobody ever knows where the economy is at a given instance.
Okay.
We know if we look back in history, we can see what it was. But whenever you're trying to measure the economy, you're always trying to measure kind of like what happened last month, what happened last quarter, whatever, and then try to figure out, the trends and where you probably are right now. It's often described akin to as if you're trying to drive a car by looking in your rearview mirror. And that's what the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department and all those kind of people are trying to do, which means it's a pretty difficult job because you're trying to predict the future by the recent past, and that's not always the best indicator. But the economy right now is okay. But there's all sorts of things that can cause it to kind of go a kilter. If you remember, there was this game you could play as a kid. I remember there was a summer camp some people have at their house where you have like these two knobs and it kind of tilts the board back and forth, and you get this little ball you're trying to get through a maze. And if you tilt it the wrong way, it falls into a hole and you lose, and the next person takes their turn. Well, that's kind of like the way the economy is right now. The ball's traveling down the path and it looks like it's doing good, but any little nudge, one way or the other, could hurt it. Could hurt it. And of course, we have a very important election coming up, mainly because every election is very important. And depending on what happens with the election, you're going to end up with one of three things. It's going to be a mandate one way, a mandate the other way, or no mandate at all. I'm predicting no mandate at all, which means, obviously somebody's going to win as president, but we're probably still going to have a split House versus Senate. And in case you haven't noticed, the Senate won't pass anything the House passes. The House won't pass anything the Senate passes. And except for when the economy is about to go off a cliff and they have to cooperate, I would not anticipate that getting any better. That's almost the good news. The president, no matter who you elect, is the bully pulpit for the country. But I mean, when you look at taxes, when you look at spending bills, those kind of things, that comes from Congress. It does not come from the president.
That's right.
And the president can propose anything he wants to. And even if he controls both the House and the Senate, doesn't always get what he wants. So you never know what's gonna come out there. So as important, if you're voting for president, and I hope you do, everybody should vote. I don't consider it right. That's a duty you have as a U.S. citizen. But also concentrate as much on your representative or your senator as far as not just electing the person you think is going to do a good job, but then tell them what you want them to do.
What you want them to do. Yes.
So even if you don't like the person, write them letters. Send them emails. A lot of them like emails these days and stuff. But do everything you can to let them know what their constituency wants, because these people want to get back into office. This is their job. And just like you will do things for your boss in order to make sure you keep your job, even if you may not agree completely with the boss, same thing with these people. They're going to do what their bosses want them to do. And who are their bosses? It's the people who vote for them. Now, it's also people who give them money so they can afford the campaign. Don't get me wrong there, but it's both, because you still got to get the people to vote for you. The money helps you to try to get more people to vote for you. But you still got to get the people to vote for you. So if they feel a groundswell, and if you get your friends and neighbors who agree with you, ignore the ones who don't agree with you, obviously. Get the ones who agree with you to write and call and email and stuff, and let them know how you feel about things. And yeah, a lot of people will say your one vote doesn't matter, and perhaps it doesn't. I've never seen a senator or a representative race decided by one vote.
Yeah.
But influence people around you, who influence people around them, who influence that little first rock that falls into the lake has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And if each one of those ripples then causes a ripple, that's where you get the power. That's where you get the power. So never stop. Never stop. The community organizations, church organizations, whatever civic groups you belong to, perhaps company-sponsored groups, even PACs. I mean, PACs get a bad name, but that's just people trying to get together and use their influence.
Yeah.
And so you want to use your influence as well. Wherever you can, get your influence across.
Okay. Now that we've talked on the national scale per se, let's bring it on home.
Okay.
What in this time of the year, what should someone be doing financially?
Okay, this is a great time of year, by the way.
Okay.
First, it's gorgeous outside, but right now you've either just gotten done with your taxes, or you put in an extension and you know you really need to get started with your taxes. but your taxes are a wonderful guide because you had to explain to the IRS what's been going on with your life each year.
Okay.
And this is the time you do it. And so it's a great time to look back and say, hey, look at this. Look at how much money I made. Because this is the one time you remember how much money you made. And I'm going to use a 4-letter word here, although it's made up of 6 letters.
Okay.
It's called
appropriate word.
budget.
Okay, yeah.
Now that may not be appropriate for many of the listeners, but budget.
Okay.
Oh, I like calling it cash flow analysis, so it doesn't sound as bad.
Sounds good, right?
It sounds
there.
all respectable and college-like and stuff. But that's just a budget. And I'm not saying go on a budget, although many people probably should. I'm saying know what your budget is.
Okay.
As I've said on the show before, a budget is simply an accounting of where your money goes to. Now, you got done with this tax return, and one of the first things to do is you figure out what your gross income is. I'm not even looking at adjusted gross income. Gross income, that's about 2/3 of the way down the front page. And that says, between dividends and capital gains and IRA distributions and payroll and small business income and all that kind of stuff, here's how much I made. Okay? My question now is, where did it go? Where did it go? I mean,
With the echo going.
most people will say, well, it got spent.
Yeah, I had to live.
And I agree, you have to live, and it did get spent. Okay, now my question is, okay, where did it get spent? Because if you at the end of the month have more money than you know what to do with, don't even bother looking at the thing. Okay. But the other 99.8% of you out there, you may, if you're kind of going well, there's things I'd like to do, but I just don't have the money to do it. And that's me. I don't know about you. I mean, big fancy studio and stuff. I don't know about you, but me, poor little financial planner, I don't have as much money as I'd like to have.
Okay,
there's more things I'd want to spend money on, but I can't. And the question is why? And you'll know why if you know where your money's going. So the first thing is you take that gross income number. Here's how much money I took in last year, and then ask yourself, where did it go? And that's where you're looking at your checking accounts, credit card statements, and you try to figure out where did it go. And the obvious things, obviously food, rent or mortgage, electricity, gas, gasoline.
Everything. Don't leave anything
where
out.
Where did everything go?
Sometimes
taxes. Taxes.
Okay.
Look at your pay stub, because a lot of stuff left before you got paid. Where did all that go? You want to account for everything. If you have more than, say, about 5% that you put on the miscellaneous because you can't figure it out, you need to start tracking better.
Okay.
And that's the point. Try it first. Try to see if you can backdate it and see where everything went last year. And if you still got more than 5%, or at first cut, I'll give you a break. 10%. If you can account for 90% of where the money went, I'm happy. But more than likely, you can't even account for more than 70% of it. That's the way most people are.
And some people can't even go back a year, Gary. Now, let's be real.
Right.
Go back to last month or even last week as a start.
And you got to begin there. And if you can't figure it out, we'll begin right now and record where everything went. And here's one of the problems. There's this wonderful thing called an ATM machine. Okay? Because you get a little slip of paper that says, I withdrew $300. Where did it go? Now, one thing to do is you take that slip that said I withdrew $300, shove it in your purse or your wallet with a pen next to it, and every time you spend some cash, write down where it went.
Yeah.
That's a way to track it. And when it equals to 300, you know, okay, I counted for that. And now you can put that in your budget. Then once a week, once a month, don't wait for more than that because it'll become a chore then.
Yeah.
Just kind of get either use, say, Quicken, if you like that, Microsoft Money, a spreadsheet. You know what? A column with lines on it have worked for thousands of years. That works just fine. You don't need a computer. A calculator or remember all that math you learned in high school and just go through it and add it up, and you're just trying to figure out where your money went, because that's going to show you. I almost guarantee you, you always say almost in my business, I almost guarantee you that you will be surprised at where at least some of your money is going. Everybody's surprised differently, and you'll look at something on there and you'll say, that is ridiculous, there's no way we should spend that much money on that particular item. Now, one word, if you're married, watch out. Because the husband's going to look at something the wife's spending and say, that's ridiculous.
It could be vice versa.
And the wife's going to look at what the husband's spending his money on and say, that's ridiculous. So realize that you're both ridiculous, okay? And you know, don't jump on the other person, because it's hard to get by in that way. Realize you're both probably messing up. Maybe one's messing up more than the other one, but you're both messing up.
Come on and reason together.
This is a community property state. You're joined as one flesh.
That's in Texas, so wherever you are, look that up.
And so you want, no matter what, you're kind of stuck together. So you might as well learn to spend together.
Yeah.
And because it's y'all's money you're spending.
Use wisdom with your resources.
And so that's what I'm going to do, is just find out where your money's going, because that's going to be half the cure. The other half is now taking control of it. And that requires responsibility and diligence and all those things that are other four-letter words. Yeah, it's a delayed gratification and save before you spend and things like that. So
but it all pays off in the long run.
Yeah, so if I was looking at something you do this time of year, since you have that magical number, you now know exactly how much you made last year, at least how much you're telling the IRS about, then now you can use that to try to figure out what actually happened last year. If you can't figure that out, figure out from here on what's happening.
What's taking
I'm not saying you have to go on a budget, but just figure out what your budget actually is, what you're doing now, and then you can make plans if you don't think that's enough, to go ahead and cut down on one area, build up another area, or do whatever you think you need to do.
So you won't get yourself in some type of predicament, you know, later on, or even in the present time.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to come back in a couple of minutes, and we're going to just do question answer, finding out about our finances, what we can do, what we shouldn't do, and even what we'd like to do right after this on Good Neighbors.